Every entry in the Legend of Zelda series has many components to make it stand out from the others. From Majora's Mask's variety of transformations, to Twilight Princess's arsenal of gadgets. But one thing every game has in common are challenging and unique boss fights, so we will be ranking all the best bosses from Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, not including mini-bosses like Hinoxes and Stone Taluses. So without further ado, let's go. Number 20. Sludge Lake is a boss that would have been better to not have in the game. It's obvious the game was trying to get you ready for the dungeon ahead of you, but the fight itself was boring and more annoying than fun. Sludge Lake uses two attacks, either eats you or throws a sludge ball at you, which both insta-kill you if you have 3 hearts, which many players do at the beginning of the game. The only thing that this boss did well was making it a copy of the like from the original Legend of Zelda for the NES, making for an unfun, though tough boss battle. Number 19. When I walked into my first boss arena in Tears of the Kingdom, I was expecting to see a menacing boss that could only be beaten by using the environment, but the opposite is true with Muktarok. You have to use the worst ability in the game to free a small object of mud, and then attack. He can use shockwaves to knock you down and turn into a sludge eel to swim around you and attack from behind. This boss made me a bit disappointed when I first played, but I have gained some respect for it. Number 18. Yunobo uses a small variety of attacks and can literally be killed by an apple, which is honestly kind of hilarious. The only move he uses is Roll, which can knock you off guard but isn't devastating. Right when you defeat him, he turns good again, showing that it wasn't his fault and he was corrupted by fake Zelda, which turns out to be the spawn of Ganondorf. Number 17. Now, I know the Blights are hated by many, but I personally didn't mind them too much. They were fun, simple bosses that had extensive movesets that could knock you off guard easily. Windblight is the second easiest but most annoying one because of his missiles and tornadoes in the first phase, and his annoying sentries in the second phase, causing for a long fight rather than a tough one, not to mention his laser at the very end. Number 16. We all know the jokes about how easy Dark Beast Ganon is, but he is actually a pretty fun boss. You use light arrows to shoot the glowing areas from the help of Princess Zelda, while riding your horse around the large open arena, making for a memorable boss fight, as well as the final blow into Malasai, followed by Zelda using her found powers to steal him away, which is a memorable ending to all players. Number 15. Fireblight Ganon is the easiest Blight, but very fun to beat. He uses a flame sword, which is pretty cool, as well as a fireball that inflicts an insane amount of damage. And that's just the first phase. In the second phase, he uses a giant fire vortex that can only be stopped using a remote bomb. Overall, he can be a bit glitchy, but if you aren't using a wooden weapon at the end, you should be completely fine.
Is he dead? My bow's on fire. What? Oh, are you kidding me? We burn up from... That was cruel.
Number 14. I remember walking into Vah Ruta and being mesmerized by the complexity of the dungeon. Now, I know that all the dungeons in Breath of the Wild are more or less a cakewalk, other than Vah Naboris, but when I got to Vah Ruta, I was immediately caught off guard by the difficulty of the boss. He uses a spear and Cryonis pillars that can serve as a challenge for new players, and you will end up needing several game overs to finally beat him. Number 13. Calamity Ganon is a final boss that used the other boss's movesets, but he was actually easier than the bosses in the dungeons, which is not common. Though that is true, I found Calamity Ganon to be a fun boss that wanted you to use the abilities you found within the game to take him down. Especially Urbosa's Fury and the Root's Protection, seeing as those are the only two things that can break his shield. It feels so good to beat him for the first time because it shows your growth from the Great Plateau. Number 12. The Yiga clan in Breath of the Wild is an annoyance, to say the least. You get one shot if you get caught, so you have to be pretty stealthy. But once you finish, you're met with the overconfident boss, Master Koga. Koga fights using ancient tactics that are similar to the Sheikah set abilities, like Magnesis and Stasis. And once you beat him, which won't take long at all, you will retrieve the Thunder Helm, which is needed to gain access to Vah Naboris. Number 11. Queen Gibdo is one of the hardest bosses in Tears of the Kingdom because of her unique design and attacks. 1 second, you're getting attacked by her zombies, and the next, you're getting rushed by her wings, making it hard to know what's going to happen next. Not to mention you fight her twice. She ends up being a really fun boss that serves as a challenge for even the most experienced of players. Number 10. Phantom Ganon starts off by you fighting 5 very tough spawns of Ganon, seeing as they can all target you at the same time. He's a very hard boss that requires a lot of skill if you don't have the right resources. And for the second phase, the spawns of Ganon respawn and now the floor is being encased by gloom. Number 9. Goma is a Zelda boss that has appeared in many of its titles from The Legend of Zelda to Tears of the Kingdom. And Marble's Goma is certainly one of the coolest iterations of the Spider Beast. And was fun to take down, but the boss had a small range of moves, most of them being rocks that explode, and it was on the weaker side of the bosses on this list, making it an easy victory. All in all, it was a fun, albeit simple boss. Number 8. Now, Master Koga in Tears of the Kingdom is technically the same boss as in Breath of the Wild, but their fighting style is so different, I have to include them as 2 different entries. Anyway, Master Koga uses Zonai devices to try to vanquish Link this time, and he is quite a bit more challenging. As well, not to mention, you fight him like 5 times within the game, making fighting him seem like it would be tedious, but each boss uses a completely different Zonai contraption, making for an interesting boss every single time. Number 7. Miragia is one of the most fun, albeit short bosses on this list. You start off building a plane and then using it to get in his face and shoot him with Yunobo's ability. And while you do, you have to avoid his fire attacks. He only requires 3 hits to beat, which is kind of disappointing seeing as he was very fun to beat, for my first and second time playing. I just wish the boss was a little bit longer. Number 6. The Demon Dragon is the best final boss in any Zelda game in my opinion. It's crazy to think how you go from riding a horse in Breath of the Wild to riding a dragon in Tears of the Kingdom. The amount of gimmicks this boss has to offer is crazy. From a malice eyes like Major had in Breath of the Wild, to the final stab at the end. Overall, he is an extremely fun boss, and it's a great way to end your adventure. Number 5. The hardest boss in Breath of the Wild would probably be Thunderblight Ganon. When I replayed the game in Master Mode, this took me over an hour to beat. When I beat it, it proved to be a difficult challenge because of her complicated attacks like Flurry Rushes in real time, Thunder Sword, and Thunder Strikes, proving itself worthy to be in the top 5. Number 4. The Seized Construct fight may be one of the most memorable fights in the entire game. You basically have a mech fight to the death, and first attacks, well, where do I start? He uses attached Zonai devices to try and kill you, like cannons, spike balls, shields, etc. It is also a great challenge, considering health won't really save you here. You have to attack when he's done attacking, or else you will get caught up in his attacks, rather than him get caught up in yours. You have to be ready for anything that comes your way. Number 3. My first Zelda game was Wind Waker, and seeing Colgera was very nostalgic, seeing as it's a copy of Morgera. The boss fight itself was one of the coolest things that I have ever seen. Flying in the sky, shooting, dashing, dodging. Stay on the edge of your seat at all times, making for an awesome boss battle. Along with the music being some of the best in the game, because it uses the Dragon Rush Island theme as part of the song, which is a very, very cool Easter egg. Number 2. I lied. Thunderblight Ganon has gotten the crown of toughest Breath of the Wild enemy taken away. Monk Mask Koshia is the hardest Breath of the Wild enemy, and one of the coolest for that matter. She uses awesome ancient tactics to attack you from behind, like multiplying and growing, and uses a mixture of movesets that you've already fought within the game, like Thunderblight's rushing, Lead Clan's teleportation, and more. But the amount of damage one blow inflicts is unbelievable. Number 1. We all knew this was going to be one of, if not the best bosses on this list. Ganondorf is the coolest boss by far. He uses Flurry Rushes against your Flurry Rushes, transforms into a demon, makes clones of himself, breaks the health barrier, the list goes on and on. And to make it crazier, the ending makes him turn into the Demon Dragon, making for the best boss in the entire game. Hope you enjoyed today's list. Like and subscribe to stay tuned for more lists like these, Easter eggs, and more. With that said, Karamado out.